lovelies, it's Kate. Welcome back to another speed build. It's time for another mansion, but this one is special because this mansion is supposed to look outstandingly beautiful during the night. And technically, any build is supposed to look great both during the day and night, but here I put a super heavy focus on the lighting. And I'm going to talk about this in a second. Like, I used a lot of lights. There's a lot going on. So I built this on a 64 by 64 lot, and the look is like a typical celebrity mansion that you would see in LA, for example. And I built this on different levels. And as I always like to say, you have to start at the bottom and you have to work your way up. This goes for a lot of things in life, but also for Sims 4 mansions, because when you start at the top, like you build a room, and then later on you decide that you would like to have another room below, then most of the time it's not working. So I always start at the bottom. Actually, I had to start over because of this. Even though I always preach this, I forgot about this, and later on I decided that I would like to have a different layout. But it was like at the stage, at the very beginning, I had to start over, and I actually changed the whole layout a little bit. And the eye catcher of this build, I mean, there are a lot of eye catchers, but for me, the pool is a true eye catcher. There are actually multiple pools in this build, but the one in the center is supposed to be very eye catching, especially at night because of the illumination. And I had to use a little trick for this, or multiple tricks. The first trick is a trick that I've used many times. You can use a translucent base game foundation to create a glass pool. Initially, this foundation was only available in City Living, but then we got a patch that introduced this foundation to the base game, which is amazing. So you simply build a foundation, you raise it, you can apply your foundation color, the translucent one, and then you build a pool inside, and that's it. So we can only build and raise a foundation like this on the ground, of course. So you can't just build a couple of stories and then you build a foundation on top and then you raise it. This is not working. So I had to make sure that I have some terrain below my pool. So I built the whole layout, the whole mansion almost, and then I raised the terrain below, and then I built the foundation on top. And you can use the terrain tools to kind of flatten out the terrain, and then you connect your different levels, and this way you can't really tell from the outside what's going on. I mean, when you take a closer look at the different levels, of course it's obvious what's going on, but like from the outside it's not really that visible. And this way I was able to kind of have this type of pool on kind of a level that is not on the ground. At least it creates the illusion. I almost used no round shapes for this build, but eventually I decided to include a couple, but the whole build looks like a giant rectangle. So it's very boxy, the shape is really modern, and I really like this kind of style. And color wise, there is not a lot going on. I used a lot of black and white, and then we have a slight pop of color because of the pools. I used the Get Together watercolor, which looks really beautiful, and then I decided to build a garage at the bottom, and this is like just for decorative purposes. Of course, we don't have functioning cars in this game yet. Who knows what's to come in the future? This would be amazing. But I decided to include this because it just looks really luxurious, and this is supposed to be a super over-the-top mansion. And for this, I used a Moschino stuff pack wall divider that is like this huge glass piece with a plastic frame around it. At least this is what it looks like to me. And I sized it up and I lowered it into the ground using T.O.O.L. What you can do is you simply build a basement below, and then you place your wall divider right at the wall, and then you press Ctrl and 9 on your keyboard to raise it. And this way you could also find the correct position, because you have to lower it into the ground if you just don't want it to stick out at the top. So you kind of have to find the correct position. And then I used a couple of debug cars just on the inside. So this is like really futuristic. There is not really a typical garage door, so I don't know, maybe this is like a really futuristic glass garage door that is supposed to like open up. I don't know, but this is just for decorations, so don't judge me. And then I was working on the landscaping. I wanted the landscaping to be quite simple, especially color-wise. I used these Eco Lifestyle debug rocks and I placed them. I really like these rocks because they have a slightly different texture than the other debug rocks. They look more realistic to me, or maybe that's just me. I don't know, let me know what you think. But to me, they look more realistic than some of the other debug rocks or rocks in general in this game. Texture-wise, I don't know, just really love them. And I figured it would look great, especially at night when all the lights are on. I think that these type of mansions look kind of realistic in a way, like not super realistic. It's just The Sims and the graphics are what they are, but I don't know, it just has a different vibe, especially in combination with these beautiful rocks. And these plants are part of island living, and ever since this pack has come out, I have really enjoyed to use these palm trees for mansions like this. It's just perfect, and you can just make them smaller or bigger, and you can almost use them like some type of bush. You can also hide some imperfections if you want to hide a slope or something. They're just perfect for this, and they are so beautiful in general. And when it comes to this mansion, this is one of those mansions that I have planned to build for the longest time, but it never worked. Like when you take a look at Pinterest, for example, there are like 100 versions of mansions like this, like real life mansions, this kind of style in LA, like really, really over the top modern and luxurious, especially with all these huge pools, infinity pools, and this kind of layout. Really rectangular, really minimalistic in a way, and just totally over the top. But whenever I've tried to nail this kind of style, it has just looked boring. I don't know, I have a tendency to incorporate wood into my builds when I'm working on modern builds, for example, but here this is like a totally different style, and I've tried to build a similar mansion like a couple of times. It never worked out, but here it just looked good at some point and I was happy. And here I just used T.O.O.L to create this kind of round shaped wall. Technically you don't need T.O.O.L for this because we can 3D rotate objects, but I was placing these columns on top of a slope and I wanted them to be on the same level. Again, you could use the basement trick, but this would be really, really tedious. So if you're on PC, I can recommend to simply use the T.O.O.L mod for this. I mean, I can recommend that mod in general. You guys know this, but this is just the perfect solution for this. And here I'm also just adjusting some minor things like the height of these debug walls. Like this is like some type of fence or a wall. It's base game and you can find it in the debug menu, and I thought it was perfect. It doesn't look super hyper modern, but it was like modern enough to be used for this build in my opinion. And you can see that the landscaping is already quite simple, a lot of rocks, a lot of palm trees. So in my opinion, the house itself and all that's going on there and the illumination is kind of enough. I didn't want to have like a huge flower bed or anything. In the back, as you will see, I'm going to use a lot of rocks again and a slight pop of color when it comes to flowers, but I really tried to tone it down. And here I'm working on the glass pool. When you take a look from the top, you were able to see the terrain a bit, and I wanted to make it look more polished, so I placed the spotty stony goodness slab all around it. I had to smooth out the terrain to make it look perfect, and this was a bit tricky, and for some reason I'm not able most of the time to place any floor tiles right next to a pool, like not even this type of pool that is like on a foundation or in a foundation, like a regular pool. When I'm just building a pool and then I want to build some floor tiles right next to the pool, it's not working. And I know that there's a trick where you just build a basement below and then it's working, but just imagine you want to have a proper basement, not like, I don't know, then sometimes it's just not working. So in this case, I mostly just use the terrain paint to fill in the gap between the tiles and the pool. But if you have a solid vision, if you just know that you want to have a specific tile right next to your pool, then it's not working, I guess. And now it's finally time for the illumination. Here I'm using a base game lamp that was added to the base game in a patch like, I don't know, last year, maybe a couple of months ago. And look at this light cone, it's so beautiful. And this is why I used a lot of half wards in this build. I knew from the get-go that I would like to use this lamp and that I would like to have some half wards so they can really shine and look really beautiful. And here for the pool and the rest of the build, I'm using some base game debug lamps. So let me explain in case you've never stumbled upon them. These are some base game debug lamps. You can find them in the debug menu, and they have weird shapes. They come in all kinds of different versions and shapes, and you can place them to just illuminate your build. And this is what I did here, because when you are using some regular lamps, in my opinion, it's way too dark and you can't really see anything. And the amazing thing about these lamps is they are completely invisible in live mode. So you can see them in build mode, you can build them, you can place them, you can change their position, but they are invisible in live mode, which is amazing. So in case you are thinking, oh my god, what's going on, there's so many weird lamps everywhere, this is looking horrible, it does, but only in build mode. And this way I was able to create the Illumination Mansion, because as I said, when you are just using your regular outdoor lights and just all these lamps on the wall, it's still super dark. You can't really see anything. You don't see the roof, you don't see all kinds of different areas of the build, and I really wanted this build to glow. In real life mansions, this is also a thing. There are just some huge spotlights and floodlights, so everything is illuminated, including some trees around the build, the house. So this is a thing in real life where a mansion is like really illuminated and bright and glowing, and I wanted to have this kind of look here. And in my opinion, without these base game debug lamps, it's almost impossible, at least when you want to have this extreme kind of look. So I was using a lot of them, and this was kind of the main object that I used to achieve this look. But the other object, as you saw, is this small base game spotlight. You can find it in the outdoor light section, and it's base game, as I said, and it's just amazingly beautiful, and I can recommend you place it right in front of a wall. And I can also recommend you use some half wards if you want to have this kind of look, because then they can literally really shine and you can really tell what they are, because when you place them in front of a window or just anywhere, you don't really see this light cone and how beautiful they are. And I also rearranged them a bit, because when you place too much of them too close to each other, it's not really looking that good. So I was really trying to find a middle ground, and I also used this stripe that you can place on a floor that is part of spot A. It's glowing in the dark, so that's perfect. I like to use it in general, but here it was really perfect. I also used some of the regular base game outdoor lights that you can place on the ground. So I used a combination of different lights, and I also used the Get Famous spotlight on the roof. I built this glass roof using the Island Living glass floor, and I just had to place a couple of those spots on top. I've never used them before. Like when Get Famous came out, I really loved the pack, and I built a couple of celebrity mansions. I was really into these celebrity mansions back then. Like I had a blast with this pack, but for some reason I never used the spot. Like for me, it was like too over the top. I think I always connected it with some typical kind of a club or anything. I mean, this is what it's supposed to be used for, like in front of a club. But I know that a lot of swimmers back then used it for a mansion, and here, because of the whole illumination theme, I thought, okay, I just have to use these spotlights. They're amazing, they're beautiful, they come in different swatches, and I just had to use it for this kind of build. And because I built this glass pool, I really wanted this to be visible when it's night and in general, so I placed some of the debug lights right on top of the water surface, which is not a problem because, as I said, it's invisible and it just looks gorgeous. Like, it looks better at night than during the day, in my opinion, because sometimes even during the day you can't really tell what's going on and that it's glass, and I don't know, it just looks so beautiful at night, in my opinion. And then I started to work on the back of the house and on the garden. At first I had no plan for the garden, but then I thought that it would be amazing to just have a basketball court because it just luxurious. So for this build I really wanted to include a lot of things that would be really typical for a mansion like this, maybe a celebrity mansion, just some type of over-the-top mansion. So I included the basketball court in the back of the garden. I included an outdoor gym. There's also a outdoor barbecue and cooking area. There is a complete spa, including a sauna and just all kinds of different things you will see. So I really made sure that this is super luxurious. There are 4 bedrooms, which isn't much, but the whole layout is like super weird. So the indoor area is not this big, and I used a lot of the space for some more luxurious bedrooms, and this here is the basketball court. Both the fence, I think, and the basketball court thingy itself came with city living, so you need city living for this, and it just looks so beautiful. I would love if we had a tennis court, which would also be amazing for mansions, not just basketball. It's just perfect for a build like this, in my opinion, and I decided to build the outdoor kitchen right next to the basketball court, so when your Sims hang out there and they may have an afternoon of basketball and just hanging out in the outdoor and they get hungry, they can grab some food over there. And also I used a lot of the space for the terrain and I had to work around that, so I used the area on the right side for this, and then I'm going to build the rest, like another pool on the left side. And also a little reminder, you still have time until August 25 to enter my share challenge. You can find the video on my channel, and yeah, there's still plenty of time left, and I have been enjoying to see your submissions. And as I've already said in my last video, feel free to tag me on Twitter when you upload a picture of your finished shell challenge build. Just tag me and I will take a look, and I'm just so excited. Of course, I'm going to check out all submissions in the gallery, but I also enjoy to just see what you're working on, or if it's still a work in progress. I just really enjoy that. My handle is @KateEmerald, or just enter KateEmerald into the search bar. My avatar is the same, the green emerald heart, so I just wanted to quickly mention this. Here I'm working on the rest of the outdoor area, and here I'm building some type of outdoor gym. There is also a gym in another area of this build, but I thought it would be really luxurious, and I was thinking of new ways to just implement more luxurious stuff. I mean, just imagine hanging out at the pool, the weather is great, and then you can just hang out in your outdoor gym. Also, talking about the outdoors, I'm going to avoid the outdoors during the next days because there is a heat wave coming for us here in Germany, and I just don't really enjoy super hot weather, so I'm just bracing myself. Today it's not too bad yet, but tomorrow it's going to be quite bad, and it's supposed to last a week or something, so I'm just trying to mentally prepare myself for this. I don't have an AC. I have a lot of fans, so I'm going to use all my fans, so I just have a bit of cool air, and I hope it's going to be alright. And I'm so happy that it's not too bad today while I'm recording this voiceover, because having to turn off the fan when it's super hot because you record a voiceover is always like really exhausting, and in between different takes I always turn the fan back on and I just edit what I've recorded, and then I go back to recording, so back and forth. But today it's not too bad yet, and I'm also not sure what's the next build going to be. I've asked on Twitter for your favorite smallish lots, and I'm planning to work on a smaller lot because, I mean, building huge mansions is kind of my thing. It's what I'm good at, in my opinion. It's what I enjoy the most. I'm not the queen of tiny builds. That's Miss Griffey, for example. I'm just not good at this, but I also enjoy to work on different builds, different styles, different lot sizes every now and then, and some of you have said that it would be great to just have some different lot sizes so you don't have to replace the same builds over and over again. So I was asking on Twitter for your favorite lot sizes, like the not only lot sizes but lots in general, like in which world and where the lighting is good and all that, and I might do that. Actually, I was planning to work on a smaller lot, but then I had the idea to work on this, and then it just happened. And in my opinion, when you just have a great idea and you start to work on a build and it's coming along nicely, then that's great, and you should work on this build first, or this is how I like to do it. So this is kind of how this happened here. As I said, I was trying to work on a similar build before a couple of times actually, and I just ditched it. There are like so many builds that I never finished. I think some of them are still in my library. Maybe, I don't know if you guys would be interested in something like this, because I've never done anything like this before, but maybe some type of video where I show you the builds that I've never finished. And maybe I could explain what went wrong in my opinion and what I could have done better, like this kind of stuff, because I always try to include some advice or stuff that I've learned. I always try to talk about this, but I don't know if this would be too weird. But I also don't think that I have saved every single build. Like usually while I'm working on a build, I save it to the library a couple of times because I'm paranoid. Like I'm saving all the time, and I also save stuff to my library. I have like 20 versions of one build in my library just so I don't know, just in case something happens. Like when you save and something goes wrong and your save file is corrupted, then it's just gone. So I always like to save stuff to my library. But for some builds, I don't do that because sometimes I'm just working on a build for an hour. I haven't saved yet because maybe I'm not too paranoid that day. And then I just bulldoze it, for example. And also at some point I replaced my SSD and I didn't save the stuff that I had saved in my library because I thought I don't really need it anymore, so I'm not sure which lots are still kind of in my library, so I have to check that, but maybe it will be fun. I don't know, let me know in the comments down below what you think. So let's talk about the interior. I tried to have a super modern interior and I used a lot of wood. As I always like to say, I never plan my interiors, it just happens, and this is also what happened here. Eventually I ended up using a lot of wood for my interior, and as I mentioned earlier, for modern builds I always incorporate a lot of wood on the exterior usually. I didn't do this here, but I ended up using a wood floor and wood furniture for the interior, but this way it looks homey. I think it looks quite modern but still inviting and cozy, so it's not too minimalistic on the interior. I think it looks quite beautiful, and I was using all kinds of different stuff from different packs. The sofas, for example, are from Eco-Lifestyle, and I built a wall divider using some Eco-Lifestyle wall decorations, so you can simply build a half wall, the lowest wall height available, and then you simply attach this wall decoration and it looks beautiful. This way you can create some custom wall dividers. You could also place them just without the half wall, but this way it just snaps to the half wall. They align perfectly. You don't have to make sure that they just have the correct position, and I think it also looks great because you have some type of base at the bottom, but you don't have to do that. But this is just a word of advice. It's really easy to just use a half wall and then just slap on your wall decorations. Eco-Lifestyle has some great wall decorations, also the one that I used in the kitchen, for example, and this is just great that we just got multiple different wall decorations. We never really get stuff like this in most packs, but here they put a heavy focus on this, including this wall garden that I've used in one of my Eco-Lifestyle builds. It's just beautiful. I wasn't the biggest fan of the whole Eco-Lifestyle theme after all, and I was kind of struggling to work on some builds with this pack, but this pack has some really great objects. The furniture, some decorations, just beautiful. And now I'm starting to work on the whole spa area. So there is a gym, a sauna, just a lot of stuff going on. I also included an area where you can do some yoga, so this is really beautiful, and I ended up using a lot of stuff from the spa day pack because I mean this is a spa, so it just made sense. We have these bamboo plants and just all kinds of different things. This pack is just perfect for this, and as you can see, the light is just so beautiful. This is why I just love to build in T.O.O.L Valley, and I oftentimes start to work on the back of the house in T.O.O.L Valley. I just put a huge focus on the garden, but here I started to work on the front of the house the old-fashioned way, and a lot of the rooms are facing to the back of the lot, which is why the light is so gorgeous. And even here at the bottom, where some terrain is kind of obscuring the windows, the light is still great in some areas, which is just amazing on the left side, for example. And this kind of, I don't know if this is really a rock because it's glowing, but there's this really fancy floor decoration that is part of spa day. I think it's technically supposed to be placed in a pool, but I just used it on the ground. And this is the master bedroom. I used curtains in the swatch. I think they are from Dine Out, but I could be wrong. And then I was just having some fun with the whole wall decoration situation. I used a wall decoration that is part of Eco-Lifestyle. I placed some lamps in between, and then I also used a shelf to just kind of connect everything, which is a bit crazy, but I think it looks great. And here I was using all kinds of different wood swatches, which I usually don't really like to do. I always think, okay, I have to use one wood swatch, like one color, so it looks great. But here I was combining different wood tones, and I think it looks really great, really inviting. And I think this was kind of a good choice actually, and this looks so warm and cozy. I used lots of oranges, and after I placed the curtains, I just knew which type of color scheme I was going for. So this is mostly how I go about my interiors. I place one object, I like the whole vibe, the color, and then I just pick all my objects accordingly, like the whole furniture, everything. This is a kid's room. It's beautiful. I used this wall color, which is like, it looks a bit peachy, and it's just so inviting. Look at the light. It's just wow. I just love this Valley light from all worlds in The Sims 4. No pack ever came with a world that has such great lighting. It's just unbelievably stunning, which is perfect because they were going for the whole celebrity mansion kind of aesthetic, and everything that you are building on these lots just looks stunning. And I remember when I got the pack and I started to furnish, it was so much fun because it just looked so amazing, just so great. I don't know, I just wish that they would have made the same decision for future packs and worlds. I mean, not identical sunlight, but the light quality is just so much better, and we don't have that in any other pack. I mean, I understand that it always depends on the theme. Like for vampires, for example, we have this kind of gloomy vibe and atmosphere, which absolutely makes sense, but I don't know, this is just like, it almost feels like a different game. It almost feels like the graphics are better. I don't know what they did with this world, but they did something right. And also, I haven't forgotten about the whole granny cottage thing. We are still going to do that, and I really want to do the whole theme justice because it's going to be so different from what I'm usually building. I want this to be good. And I'm trying to come up with something fun and cool and fresh, and we'll see what's going to happen. And yeah, this is another bedroom. Again, I was going for this peachy kind of look. I was kind of following through with the whole peachy, cozy, warm theme after I built the first bedroom because I thought it was so beautiful. And this is it, guys. As always, I have included a lot of screenshots. You can find this build in the gallery, fully furnished, CC free and modded, so you can grab it and your Sims can move in if you want to, if they want to. I hope you will enjoy this build if you should use it. I hope that you had some fun watching this. I hope that you will enjoy the build, and I would like to say thank you so much for watching, and I hope I see you in the next video. Bye bye!